Hi everyone, I'm Linda, the scrapbooking photographer. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where today I'm going to show you how to make 12 cards using the stamp of the month called Christmas Snowflake Mandalas. Now you can see by the colouring on this one that it's been well used already. I was so excited to see this stamp because I knew it would be so useful in many different ways. Now, as a stamp of the month, it's available for only $10 with a qualifying purchase of $88. Or if you're a VIP and you have a qualifying purchase, then this is free. Today, though, what we're going to do is use these stamps to make two different pieces of our own designer paper, and then we'll make the cards from there. Starting with our Versamat, we're going to turn it over and use the back side of it, which is the sponge, ideal for stamping. Then we're going to put up just a piece of scrap paper and a piece of 12 by 12 white daisy. So just leaving an edge around the outside so that we can stamp over the sides of the white daisy. The colours I'm using are pine, and then we'll use some candy apple. And then just randomly we're going to stamp around the edge of this paper, of this cardstock. It doesn't have to be planned. You can just stamp wherever takes your fancy. Okay, so there we have the pine colour. The next thing we're going to do is use the candy apple. So we need to clean the pine stamp off. Close our ink and get the next one, which is candy apple. And with the candy apple, we're going to use the smaller mandala, or the medium-sized mandala. And again, randomly stamp where it fits. So we'll stop there. So we'll clean that ink off. Now for the gaps, there is a third mandala. And just to be a little bit different, what we're going to do with this third one is emboss it. And I thought, because they're clean colours, what we'll do is emboss them with silver. So the silver embossing powder comes in a bottle like this, and it's spread on with a glue type stamp pad. But before we glue, if you're embossing, it's a good idea to use this anti-static pouch in the parts where you're going to be embossing, and that stops the powder from going where it shouldn't. So we're just going to quickly rub over all the blank areas so that we can randomly stamp at leisure. Okay, taking our little smallest mandala. Now you won't be able to see where this is going until I put the embossing powder on. So I'll just quickly go through and fill in the gaps. Okay, that will do for now. I'll just see how that comes off. So to do this effectively and without making too much of a mess, we'll get rid of the mat and we'll bring in a loose piece of paper so that we can pick up the powder that we don't use. Get rid of these bits. So all we need to do is sprinkle the powder over where we've stamped the glue. Now we'll just do a little bit of at a time to show you what I mean. It will stick to where the glue is. Okay, and then we can add a little bit more to the other parts Shake it around a bit, get rid of the excess. So you can see there's a bit of a gap here where I missed one. That's okay, it's pretty easy to fix. We'll just go in. Stamp another one. And there we go. Now that needs to be heated to make it stable. But while we've got the embossing mess out, I'm going to start on our next piece of designer paper. So I'll just pop that to one side and try not to touch it. Get rid of the silver by scooping it up. Yeah. Sometimes it's a bit hard to get it straight back in the bowl, in the bottle, so I tend to use an ice cream container as a way to funnel it back in here. And then a brush, just to brush out the ice cream container. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with a French vanilla piece of paper, but this time we're going to do it all with the glue. So I'll just quickly show you, you've seen the stamping process and the embossing process, so I'll just quickly do this to get it up to speed, ready for the next stage. Okay, just grab our brush and brush off these bits that we don't want. And I think we're ready for the heating process. I'll just get rid of this powder. And I'll just use my heat gun. And you'll be able to watch it gradually change. I think we've got everything. So we'll put that to one side and bring in one that we haven't forgotten about, which is the silver embossing. And do the same thing with this. Okay, I think that's all done too. So now we have two of our own pieces of designer paper. Now we can use them to make cards. So here we are with our first piece of designer sheet paper. Doesn't it look great with the pine and the candy apple behind it? So what we're going to do is mount the bits that we cut to make cards with both the pine and the candy apple. The cards measure 4.25 by 5.5. So we're going to allow 1/2 inch for the mounting, and we're going to cut our designer piece of paper at 3.75. So if we come into 3.75, we can trim down there. Okay, so and the length was 5.5. We're taking 1/2 inch off, so we're cutting these at 5. Now the length is 12 inches, So it's a matter of choosing which end you like the best really. And I think I like this end the best. So we're going to go here at 5. And once again here at 5. Now don't forget these bits because they'll make nice gift cards or something that we can use them for. And the same on this one. I think I like this end. So we'll go 5 and actually I quite like that. So I'm going to turn it around and cut the bottom off. 5. Yes, good decision. Right, now so that gives us the fascias for 6 cards. Now to get the mounts. I think green first, so we're going to cut that at 4. And then this one is going to be 5 1/4. And taking the red, we're going to make the candy apple the same size as the card. So we're starting off at 4 1/4. Now we're only going to get 2 strips out of that because this one's narrower. And this is going to be 5 1/2. So now what we're going to do is put together our 6 cards. When it comes to putting on our designer paper, it's a matter of deciding which way up you want it to go. And of course they're all unique. And there we have our 6 cards all put together, just waiting for the sentiment to go on the front. But because we're making 12 cards, we'll do all 12 sentiments at the same time. So let's get our second designer piece of paper up to the same level and attach to the cards. So to get 6 pieces of card out of this, we need to cut them at 4 inches wide. And again, it's a matter of deciding which direction to go in. And I think I like that top one first. Now we're going to go, remembering card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So we're leaving 1/4 of an inch for around the outside. 4. Then I might turn it round actually and come in from this side. Yes, that's good. And then these we need to be 5 1/4. Okay, so there we have our 6 card fronts. Now when we look at them on a card, you can see that there's a gap around the outside, and because we embossed on French vanilla, the white doesn't really go. What would look stunning is gold. And as it so happens, we have some gold paint metallic markers. Now they come in a set of 3. There's a thick strip, a medium strip, and a fine strip. They're not any good for journaling, but they're great for this sort of thing. So on this card with the thick nib, what we're going to do is colour the outside of each card in this colour. So with the scrap paper behind, so that we don't leave any gold paint on our Versamat, and just using a ruler, within a shake, just make sure the ink's coming out of the nib. And we need to make sure that we're covering 1/4 of an inch around the outside with our gold pen. Isn't that beautiful? Top, bottom and sides. There we go. So now you'll see when we'll leave it to dry, but when we put that on, it's going to provide a nice golden background. So I'll just go ahead and paint the rest, and then we'll have them all ready to go. Right, so I've painted and let them dry, and then I've stuck the card fronts onto them. Now I'm just tidying up a little bit around the edges, which you can do quite easily once they're all stuck on. Okay, now some of these are going to look better in a landscape format rather than a portrait, so that's okay, we can turn them around, makes them all unique. So what we're going to do now is make the sentiments for the front of all the cards. So we need 6 for the gold ones and 6 for the silver ones. So we'll be using white daisy for our silver ones and the French vanilla for our gold ones. Now rather than, I know that there's a plethora of choices out there for sentiments on cards, but sticking with our Mandela set, there's just a basic Merry Christmas, which will be nice for all of them. And let's face it, all the cards are going to someone different, so it doesn't matter if they're all very similar. So what we're going to do is emboss on this white daisy with silver and emboss on the French vanilla with gold. So getting ready to emboss, we turn the Versamat over, ready to stamp. Put our messy paper on top of it to catch all the embossing powder we don't use, and we'll do the silver one first. So remembering to go over the top of it with the anti-static pouch. All we need to do is stamp 6 Merry Christmases on there with the silver powder. So very quick and easy. Excuse my head if it's in the way. I don't want to contaminate gold with silver, so we're going to break out a new piece of messy paper, ready for our gold, which is going on to the French vanilla. And we can pop them both back on here and bring in our heater. Now you don't need to worry about any little imperfections, because we can either cover them up with a little bit of bling or incorporate them somehow into the card. So what we're going to do now is cut these into the right size for the cards. So we've got all our sentiments, Merry Christmas sentiments, all tidied up, and I've also gone ahead and just cut the background for them. For the gold ones I've just done white, because we're going to colour them in gold. like we did for the card, and for the other cards I've done red and green. So let's just work on the gold ones to start with. Once again, we've got our gold pen. While they're drying, let's go back to our red and silver ones. So it's just a matter of deciding where we want to put our sentiments and then sticking them on. So sometimes they look good going that way with the sentiment in the middle. They don't always have to go that way. So that way is quite good too. So what I'm going to do is stick these together and then mount them with a little bit of foam tape. Rather than tape, I'm just going to use these foam dots. And the last thing to do is to add a little bit of bling. Now you could add red or you could add silver. That seems to go quite nicely with the mandala. And then we'll just do a couple of little smaller ones on the other side. One close to there and one up here. And there we go. Right, I'll just go ahead and finish the others and then show you when they're finished. So there we are. We've got all the sentiments added and a little bit of bling to finish off. So that's those 6. So then we go to our gold ones. So the paint will be dry now. So now we just need to stick these on. And then it's a matter of deciding again whether you want it to go this way or that way. I think this one goes this way, and there's a little bit of a smudge on here, so we're going to cover that with our sentiment. And we'll put a little bit of bling on there with our gold bits. Couple close together and one more over the other side for luck. There we are. I'll go ahead and do the other 5 gold cards, all finished. Now you can see I've put the sentiment across where there might have been a smudge or some blemish that I wasn't quite happy with. But for 6 nice gold cards, all slightly different, and then we have the other ones as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you give it a go. If you do, I'd love to see pictures of your cards.